Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Battlefield 6 update. Today's video, I'm gonna give you guys the best 5 loadouts that you need to try to use right now. And if any of these setups actually helps you out, make sure you do is clicking that like button. It helps out the video and it helps out the channel by pushing the algorithm. Now let's dive right into the setups for them. So right now, I'm gonna give you guys one of the best assault rifles to try to use after the update. This is not really good for its long range, but it really has good AR potential. And it's gonna be the NVO. Now, of course, this is of course with no attachments, just to showcase the damage profile, the spread with it. If you guys have actually never tried it out, or if you think about trying to rank it up in the process, I'm telling you, it's a really good long range choice. Now, I'm gonna give you guys the best setups for it. Starting off with the first attachment is gonna be the scope. And there are way too many scopes that a lot of people will try to recommend you in this game. They're like 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, and even 4 times scopes. But I'm only gonna recommend this one. It's gonna be the RM 1.75. It's good for all play styles, no matter if it's close, medium, and somewhat of a long range. But you also gotta remember, and if you look at the stats on the bottom right corner, it has a 42 control and a 25 precision. But of course, there are some attachments that can try to help this out with it, which of course I'm gonna showcase later on in the video. For my ammunition, I'm only going to be using is the FMJ, just to try to worry about my point system. And you really don't necessarily need it's like lightweight hollow points or even frangible rounds, which I think frangibles by far is one of the worst ammunition that you could try to recommend anybody here in this game. So never use frangible. My magazine, now of course there are way too many magazines to try to use from, and I always like to try to keep it more of like a common as it is with like a 30 round fast mag, because you don't necessarily need like a big old magazine, especially for this assault rifle, because it's not really good for its long range potential. But if you want to bump it up to maybe it's a 36, which is also 15 points, you actually can, but I'm gonna keep it simple as a 30 round mag. For my underbarrel attachments, there are a lot of different underbarrels to try to use from, and like I said before, you always got to remember to look at your point system here in the game, because that's mostly like your pros and your cons when you're trying to build. Basically, it's either a 5 attachment, 8 attachment, whatever attachment you're trying to rank this up or trying to build, you always got to remember to use from. And of course, we're going to just try to test it out with is the Stipple Stubby, because it not only gives you it's a 52 control, but it gives you a 29 precision. It gives you more of your aim down sight speed while trying to help at any particular close range battle, medium range, to just try to help out with that sprint to fire. When if you get done sprinting, you can just ADS quick draw fast. That's the best underbarrel I would recommend for this weapon. My barrel attachment, I'm going to keep it simple by using the extended barrel, which of course helps out with that bullet velocity at range, helps out with the aim down sight speed as well with the weapon. So you just got to remember, the extended barrels will always try to help out with them long range engagements. This will always be the go-to barrel for this one. And of course, for our final attachment for the muzzle, I'm going to keep it simple as it is, but you just got to use the standard suppressor. And then to test out this build in the firing range, you guys can see, good for its close range, medium range, long range potential. It's not the best for its long range, so you just got to remember that this will always have some kick to it. And if you are a real Battlefield person, you know some of these guns have somewhat to little recoil, and this is just your go-to AR that you need to try out the update. Our second gun on the list we have is the Sword 300. This is one of the best carbines in my opinion. I mean, you can just see, good for its range, good for its potential. It's a very slept-on weapon, and a lot of people don't know, but this actually came out in the beginning of Season 1. So I would highly actually recommend to unlock this assault rifle if you didn't get this unlocked, and try to buy it in the Battle Pass if you need to unlock it instantly. So let's get right into the setup for it. Starting off with the scope attachment, I'm going to keep it simple by just using is the RM 1.75. Like I said, it's just my go-to scopes to try to use for any of the ARs, SMGs, and sometimes even carbine weapons. You will never see me use this on any LMGs anywhere in general. You will never see me use it. My ammunition, I'm going to keep it simple by just using is the FMJ, just to try to worry about your point system. For my my magazine, I'm only going to be using is the 30 round magazine and not the 30 round fast mag. If you actually want to bump this up to this, you actually can, but you also got to remind yourself about the point system. But of course, I only have the gun at level 28, which is, I believe it's like right here under my face cam. The gun is level 28, so I've barely been using this gun, but I just think that this is like a very highly slept on weapon that a lot of people need to start using and just try to rank it up, just to try to use it for any different type of potential ways. Don't matter if it's close, medium, or long range engagements. So 30 round fast mag, if you want to use it, it's all up to you. Now for the underbarrel attachments, you guys, as you can see, it has is a 42 control and a 40 precision, which of course these are the starters. Now if you actually want to know what helps out a lot with the gun at the range, it's going to be it's the 6864 vertical. This is more of like the starter underbarrel. Now if you actually want to know what is a good underbarrel, if you have this gun either maxed out or just at level 40, it's going to be the low profile stubby, which the only con about this one, it is only 45 points. So you just gotta remind yourself about the point system here in the game, because it does give you a 56 control of 45 precision, which of course is 5 extra precision, and helps out with the aiming down sight speed as well. But of course with this one, it's 25. It helps out with the 53 control, 44 precision. It takes away is your movement speed while aiming down sight as well. So that is the con about using this, but it doesn't give you more of your aiming down sight speed as well. So just kind of remind yourself of which different type of underbarrels that you would like to use here for this weapon. For the barrel attachment I'm going to be using is the extended barrel, which of course helps out with that bullet velocity at range and helps out with that aiming down sight speed as well. This is going to be the best go-to barrel for this weapon. For our muzzle attachments, I'm going to keep it simple by just using the standard suppressor, which of course keeps you hidden off the radar, and that's really mostly it. If you actually want to try to use this either as like a right accessory or just any of your top accessories, you actually can, which the only one I would probably actually recommend for maybe it's like a top accessory is maybe it's the 5MW laser, which of course actually does give you a 54 hip fire just for any of them close range battles. And of course for the right accessory, there is a flashlight if you actually just want to equip it, but this is why I feel like it's the best attachment just for a starter build. And to test this out in the firing range, you guys can see gun has little to no recoil. Even without the attachments, I was barely even shaking or even moving with this gun. Good slept on carbine. A lot of people need to start using it, and if you guys actually need to, this is why I believe it's the best build to try to use for it. Our third weapon on the list is the SGX. This is a good SMG that a lot of people need to start using here in the game. You guys can see, good for its hip fire. Of course, you sometimes need to just make sure in close range that the gun actually gonna hit all its shots. Good all-around build, and of course a lot of people always want to ask why don't I never build a good hipfire build, because I don't necessarily find hipfires in this game to be satisfying to me. If you guys need a good class up for it, I got you guys with it. Starting off with the top accessories, there are a lot of different lasers that you can try to use from. It's either maybe it's like a green laser, blue laser, and even a red laser, but the only one I'm going to recommend for you guys is going to be the 5MW green. It's one of the best hipfire lasers that I would actually only recommend to use here in the game. It only costs 10 points. You don't need that no blue laser, no green, especially with the 50MW green, which costs 20 points. I don't necessarily think this is worth it, especially for this SMG. There's really no difference. Now, of course, it does bump up your 62 hipfire to a 71, which I mean, that is amazing that it gives you that much hipfire, but I don't think it's really necessarily worth it. So just try to be mindful of your point system you are using here in the game. My ammunition, I'm gonna keep it simple with just the FMJ magazine. My magazine attachment, I'm gonna keep this simple by just using the 30 round. There's really no point of using no 30 round fast mag because it bumps up your point system. No 36, and especially not no 41 for no 25 points. I don't think none of these magazines really worth it, especially for an SMG. You just need to worry about your aiming down sight speed, and especially while moving as fast as you actually could. This is going to be the go-to magazine. For the barrel attachment, now I know I'm going to get some a little hate for this one, but I just feel like this is one of the best barrels to try to use for it. It's going to be the light barrel. Now you can obviously use the extended barrel, which of course actually helps out with 15 points, which is 5 extra, but I feel like that the light barrel is going to be best for any of them hipfire engagements that you're probably going to come across a lot, because this SMG is really good for its hipfire. It's good for its hipfire and somewhat the long range, but I actually don't notice any difference with either the extended barrel and maybe the light barrel. Maybe the headshot damage for just no bullet drop off with this one, cool, but I just feel like the light barrel is just going to be the best choice for this weapon. And of course for our muzzle attachment, we're only going to just be using it's just the compensated break, because it just helps out with that recoil buildup when trying to use at the range, and of course helps out with that recoil recovery, but you also is going to be spotted on the radar, so you just somewhat just got to be mindful of every single time you're going to be using this compensator all the time. So if you just don't want to use this one and maybe try to use it for a standard suppressor, you actually can, but it also reduces your hip fire as well, which we're trying to find out a good build to try to use for all different type of playstyles. I just don't think just the go-to suppressor that you use for this. Our fourth weapon on the list we have is the KTS-100. Now you guys already know, if you know about this LMG, you know this LMG is a pack-a-punch. Good for its long range, close, and somewhat medium. Now the only good thing about this weapon, this has no recoil at all. It literally does not. Even with just me mowing down the targets in the practice center, it just clears everybody out. So now I'm gonna give you guys what I believe are the best attachments for it. Starting off with the scope attachment, this is the Baker 3x scope. Now this is more of like the red sec scope to try to use. I feel like this is my best go-to scope to use in red sec. If you want to use this in multiplayer, you actually can. It's a good all-around good scope detachment to try to use for any of the LMGs. I just feel like that's just the go-to one. My ammunition, I'm gonna keep it simple by just using is the hollow points. Just of course help us with that headshot damage multiplier, because I think without it, if you just put it back to standard, it brings it down from a 1.50 to a 1.34. So you just always gotta remember just the point system that you're using here in the game. And with this LMG, it's not really too much weapon attachments that you necessarily need on it. It has little to no recoil. The precision is way too high on this one. So you can always try to maybe bump it down for like little attachments for the point system and use other attachments to just try to use that. I think it will be necessarily helpful for this weapon. So I think the hollow points is going to be the go-to ammunition for this weapon. My magazine attachment, I'm gonna keep it simple by using the 50 round magazine instead of a 60, which of course is 10 extra points, but you also gotta remember about it's your reload speed as well, which of course if you use the standard, it's a 3.25. Like that's way too long for an LMG. I'm not gonna lie, it's way too long. Maybe if you want to bump it down to maybe it's like a 45 round, you actually can, but the 50 round magazine is going to be the best choice for it. It's 5 extra points from either one for 50 or 45. So just be looking and mindful of the different type of magazine you want to use. My underbarrel attachment I'm going to be using is the Simple Stubby, which of course helps out a lot with that recoil. Builds up over time for the underbarrel attachment, but the only cost about this one is just the aim it down sight speed while moving. That's the only con about this underbarrel that you don't want about this one. I just don't know why. Just think this one the best choice. For the barrel attachment I'm going to be using is the heavy extended one and not the heavy one. Now of course there are different ones that you actually want to try to use from, but you also got to worry about that bullet velocity at range, especially for an LMG. All the LMGs they need to have is just a bunch of control and a good muzzle velocity. This is going to be the go-to barrel to try to use for any LMG here in the game. And of course for our final attachment we're going to be using is the standard suppressor, which of course does keep you hidden off the radar. This is what I believe is the best go-to attachment for the KTS 100. Now we're going to hop right into is the final weapon that you need to try to use. And if you know about this weapon, this is the DSR, but it looks like an assault rifle, right? I don't know why. They actually messed us up with this one because it's an LMG, but it's an AR like potential. I don't know why. But you guys can see good for its damage, good for its recoil. All around good LMG, just as an AR build. So I'm gonna give you guys what I believe are the best 5 attachments for this weapon. Starting on with the scope attachment, we're gonna be using the RM 1.75. As I said before, I believe this is one of the best scopes you should be using here in multiplayer, and don't matter if it's either red sec, especially for like them close range and somewhat medium range fights, if you only been having them type engagements and not necessarily them long range. For the ammunition I'm gonna be using is the polymer case. I've been seeing a lot of people been saying that the ammunitions have not been working here in the game. I don't know after the recent update if they actually did fix them. Y'all let me know down in the comment section below if the ammunitions for like the lightweight, the penetration, the frangibles have actually been working. I just know that the hollow points and kinetic rounds is not really necessarily worth it. So just keep it with the polymer case, which actually helps out with your aiming on sight speed and movement speed for this LMG. For my underbarrel attachment, I'm going to be using the full angle, which actually helps out with your recoil control, helps out with that weapon draw speed as well. This is what I was talking about before with the sprint of fire. You actually need this one because this is what helps out a lot with that. The only cost thing about this weapon is just your aiming down sight speed while moving, but it doesn't give you necessarily a lot of your control and your precision. The only thing about this AR/LMG I don't like about it is just the tap fire at that range. So you just gotta be mindful of how you want to use this gun for any of your situations. My barrel attachment I'm going to be using is the extended and not the heavy extended, because it actually helps out with that bullet velocity at range and it helps out with your aiming down sight speed. But of course with the heavy extended, it gives you a little bit more precision, but of course increases how slow it aims down sight. You also got to be mindful of your aiming down sight speed within basically any weapon. Doesn't matter if it's a sniper, AR, SMG, shotgun, whatever. You always got to be mindful of your aiming down sight speed when it comes down to any particular weapon. And I feel like that the extended barrel is going to be the best choice. And coming down for the muzzle attachment, I'm only going to be suggesting is the long suppressor for just this one-time sake, which because like I said again, increase the recoil buildup for the suppressor. Now the only bad thing about this is it's just the weapon sway. You always gonna have some weapon sway with this weapon no matter what, but of course it does increase it, but you also gotta worry about it's just that recoil buildup that's gonna help out with the suppressor as well instead of the standard one. But I hope you guys did enjoy this nice little top 5 loadouts that I gave you guys, man. Comment down below which one was your favorite one and which one helped you guys out the most. And especially, man, clicking that like button helps out the video. It pushes on the algorithm and it helps out the channel. And I'll see you guys in the next one.